What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, and we're feeling good. Giants, they got a win on Sunday, but it's a quick turnaround between that win and our next game against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night. One thing that I'm really excited for in this game, Alex, our first look at Malik Nabers on prime time. That's going to be so much fun, but this is a crucial game for the Giants. The Cowboys, to be completely honest, are vulnerable. They're also 1-2, same record as us, and this could end up being a pivotal matchup, a sink or swim kind of matchup for the Giants, where if they win this game, hell, the season might be back on track. They might have an opportunity to make some noise in the 2024-25 season, but if they lose this game, is it back to doom and gloom? So we're going to kind of unpack that, what this game means for this Giants team, and how we feel going into it as to whether or not the New York Giants can pull off the victory at home against Dallas, which they have not done since 2016. Haven't beat Dallas in MetLife Stadium since then. It's been a very long time, but hey, if it's going to change, it's going to change because of Malik Nabers, baby. He's going to put in the work and hopefully secure a victory for the Giants. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to go ahead and discuss it. Alex, let's waste no more time. How are you doing today, my friend? And how are you feeling entering Week 4, Thursday Night Football versus the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm feeling great, man. Listen, this Giants team coming off a really important win to start turning this season in a much different direction, right? We saw a way better defensive system, a defensive strategy by Shane Bowen against, the Cleveland Browns. And the pass rush finally woke up. The chemistry is starting to build. And the offense in the first half of that game looked phenomenal. Malik Nabers making ridiculous catch after catch. Wandale getting involved. The running game was solid once again. And Devin Singletary, by the way, if there's anyone to look at right now against the Dallas Cowboys, it is Devin Singletary, because they're going to be able to run all over this Dallas defense. Now, their secondary, they have some good pieces, but man, they lack interior run defense support like no other team. There might not be a worse run defending team in the league right now than Dallas. So if the Giants can, utilize their newfound, offensive line, the chemistry they're building there, and really run up the gut and pound the football inside, I think they can get a lot of yards on the ground. They can maintain possession of this game, keep the ball away from Dak Prescott and Anthony. Dak Prescott just has a thing for destroying the Giants. So if we can keep the ball out of his hands, I think that we can do a pretty good job of keeping their offense at bay and winning this football game. But the way I would look at this is let's kind of use what the strategy that the Commanders used against us, right? Lots of run the football, lots of easy throws, similar to what we did last week against Cleveland. I think that this is a strategy that will probably kind of follow a similar flow. The Giants destroyed time of possession compared to Cleveland this past weekend. They have to do the same thing. As long as Dallas doesn't have the football on offense, the Giants can win this football game. And as you said, it's been years since the Giants won a home game against Dallas, and this would turn the season around. If the Giants are sitting at 2-2, and we are coming off a big win against Dallas, now we have a week and a half of rest, we can start to turn the page here and flip the script. But if the Giants lose this game, it really might be sink or swim at 1-3. Things may start to deteriorate. The vibes will certainly be a lot worse, but they need to compound good performances right now. I mean, after Dallas, the schedule doesn't get any easier, right? You got the Seahawks, who are looking really, really strong after the first couple of games. The Bengals look horrible, but you can never rule out Joe Burrow having a crazy game and doing what he did against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Eagles are always a competitive opponent. The Steelers are playing excellent football too. So this schedule is difficult. These teams are also starting to heat up in a lot of ways. The Cowboys almost came back and won that game against the Saints. What do you think is the catalyst here for the Giants? Because in my opinion, it's run the football, take what their defense is going to give us and keep possession, because and don't turn the freaking ball over. No more fumbles, Devin. So I think that's really where I kind of sit in terms of what we need to do to win this football game, or at least be a competitive team in this one. A short turnaround this week, but I think the Giants are compounding good days, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
This game is won and lost on the ground. The Dallas Cowboys right now are one of the worst rushing attacks in all of football from an offensive standpoint, and they have the worst ranked run defense in the NFL. Right now, on the ground, their offense is averaging how many yards per game? It's a very low total. I don't know, but their defense is ranked 32nd in the NFL, allowing 185.7 rushing yards per game. Meanwhile, the Giants' rushing attack has been pretty solid. Devin Singletary has been getting busy. He just had two solid performances in a row. In week 2 against the Washington Commanders, broke a bunch of tackles. We broke that down. That was exciting. And then again, in week 3, had some solid runs, including the 40-plus yard run down the right sideline to ice the game. Didn't score the touchdown, but did win the game for the Giants against the Browns. So Devin Singletary, I think it's going to be your show on Thursday night. Like you said, Alex, I think he's in line for a big performance against the 32nd ranked rushing defense in the NFL. And for Dallas, on the other side of the ball, I mean, they're running with the ghost of Ezekiel Elliott right now in their backfield. Their backfield is trash. They do not have an impressive rushing attack. Unfortunately, though, what they do have is arguably the best, or at least a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL in CeeDee Lamb. And this is where things get a little bit hairy for the Giants, Alex. CeeDee Lamb is not only one of the best receivers in the NFL, but he's one of the best receivers in the NFL working out of the slot. He moves all over the formation. He spends about half of the time outside, half the time in the slot. And right now, the Giants' secondary is getting razor thin. You know, Deonte Banks, great player. We like him a lot, but he doesn't travel into the slot. However, when you're looking at the slot cornerback position, we feel really good about Andrew Phillips. We're really confident in him. But he's probably not playing on Thursday night. He's dealing with a calf injury. So is Adoree Jackson. And Nick McLeod is still ramping up from a knee injury. So what do the Giants have in the nickel cornerback position, Alex? I think it's going to be Isaiah Simmons versus CeeDee Lamb. That is a matchup that absolutely scares me. That is going to give me nightmares on Wednesday night as I get prepared to watch the Giants play on Thursday. CeeDee Lamb is in line to absolutely destroy the Giants' defense. It's going to take a miracle for us to hold up against him and prevent him from being the Dallas Cowboys game breaker. Honestly, that's really where we're at. And to me, the way that you beat this Cowboys team, it's not really going to be by covering CeeDee Lamb. I think you just kind of have to consider that a sunk cost. He's going to get open. He's going to make some plays on Thursday night. You can almost guarantee that. The way that you stop him from getting the ball, though, getting pressure on Dak Prescott. The pass rush needs to get home and make it so that some of those throws going to an open CeeDee Lamb are inaccurate, or they get picked off, or he gets sacked and fumbles in the backfield. That's how you slow down this Cowboys offense. It's going to be controlling the ground game in this game for the Giants on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, but the pass rush needs to get home, prevent Dak Prescott from standing in a clean pocket and delivering to what's likely going to be a wide open CeeDee Lamb, unless Isaiah Simmons rises from the ashes and turns in a vintage signature performance on prime time versus the Cowboys. But Alex, what are your thoughts on that? When you're looking at this Giants secondary, Deonte Banks has had a lot of struggles lately. He's not even traveling into the slot, though, to guard CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb has had the Giants number pretty much every time he's played them in his entire career. He always torches us. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we don't have a nickel cornerback. And Drew Phillips, injured. Probably not playing on Thursday. Maybe, but probably not. Outside chance. So now CeeDee Lamb is in line to have a really big game against us. I imagine you agree with me. Pass rush is the key to disrupting that. But what else are you seeing in this matchup for the Giants?
Like you said, I mean, listen, Deonte Banks is probably not following him into the slot, and he does a lot. He is their offense. I mean, they have a couple guys who do some stuff every now and then, but their running game is non-existent. As you mentioned, the ghost of Ezekiel Elliott is back there. They don't have anyone really to run the football. If they had a guy like Derrick Henry and they would have got him in free agency, didn't have the money to do it, maybe there'd be a different story. But Dallas is like teetering on the edge of, can they actually pay everybody? You know, if they're not drafting at an excellent level, that team is going to stall. They paid Dak Prescott, they paid CeeDee Lamb, and they have to pay Micah Parsons. And those guys combined are going to be making $140 million. So it's like, you know, $130 million. That is a stupendous amount of money when you have a $240 million cap hit or cap space. A lot of money to be paying 3 players, to be counting 50% of your roster allocation. So they need to be drafting at a level that we've never seen before to sustain that stuff. And because they drafted so well 4 or 5 years ago, they're now paying the bill for that. And I know a little bit of a tangent there, but I think that it's an indication of their strong drafting, but also not winning while they had them on the rookie contracts, which is a big problem for Dallas. They're probably facing a lot more negative than positive moving forward because of that situation. But with that being said, they're still a good football team, and they can turn things around. Their defense is having a really problematic situation because they don't have the money. They didn't have the money to go out and get a defensive tackle, and they didn't draft well enough to find one. They tried to get Jordan Phillips from us. They ended up ghosting him on IR, so he's no longer in the fold there, and they're getting dominated in the trenches. They're going to have to trade for somebody at the deadline, most likely. So at this rate, though, if you are the Giants, you're going to run the football. On the defensive side, bracket CeeDee Lamb. You have to have safety support there. Tyler Nubin, shade CeeDee Lamb's way every single freaking snap because they're not going to run the football well. I trust Dexter Lawrence, Elijah Chapman, and our edge guys and linebackers to stop Ezekiel Elliott and Dowdry, whoever the other running back is. Like, I'm not afraid of the running game at all. I am afraid of CeeDee Lamb. If they can take CeeDee Lamb out of this game, they can do a much better job. I think Bobby Okereke, or maybe they'll have Muasau back, or McFadden helping against Ferguson, their tight end. But for the most part, their whole offense is CeeDee Lamb, and they have Turpin. They have a couple guys that they get involved every now and then, but it's here nor there. They're not that good. They're kind of just supplementary auxiliary pieces, and they can't manage to operate that offense. So I do think that if you're the Giants, you're going to have Deonte Banks traveling as long as CeeDee Lamb is on the boundary. But when he gets into the slot, it's probably going to be Cordell Flott, most likely. And Cordell Flott, yeah, you mentioned this. Like, Drew Phillips is probably going to miss this game. Would have been a really nice time to have Drew Phillips healthy for this one. So that'll suck. Maybe he'll tough it out. And calf injuries are tricky. They can be really, really cumbersome. So I don't think he's going to play because the Giants can't afford to lose him for more than 1 week. They need him available for the duration of this season. So hopefully it was something minor. I know he was out of practice yesterday, so they're keeping things on edge. They have Nick McLeod. I think he will return on Thursday. He was limited this past Friday, so he'll be back. I don't think they necessarily love Adoree Jackson right now. I think he's just kind of there as a last resort, but I don't think they don't want to play him. He's more of like a supplement in case of a injury or inconsistency. More so an injury. So I think Nick McLeod will get more opportunities over him, but that definitely means that Cordell Flott is playing in the slot, and he is going to be eaten alive by CeeDee Lamb. Like, that is going to be problematic. They're going to run a lot of crossers. They're going to expose him. But then again, CeeDee Lamb does that to everybody. No one can hide from him. So that's kind of how I foresee this happening. But do you think that they'll probably shade him, try to keep things in front, don't let him get downfield, because that's where he's dangerous after the catch?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to leave CeeDee Lamb out on an island one-on-one. He's going to cook you if you do that. The Giants are absolutely going to keep safety help over top and bracket CeeDee Lamb. You're right about that. It's just the problem is when he gets into the slot, if the Giants are in man coverage, and even if they're in zone, they really don't have the personnel to match up with CeeDee Lamb now that their starting slot cornerback is injured. And Alex, building on this conversation about some of these injuries that the Giants have on their defense, how concerned are you with Monday's injury report? Now, I'm going to list everybody that appeared on this injury report on the defensive side of the ball. As we mentioned, Adoree Jackson with a calf injury, listed as a non-participant at practice on Monday. Drew Phillips also listed as a non-participant with a calf injury. Nick McLeod, as you mentioned, was a limited participant with his knee injury. But joining those two was Dexter Lawrence and Micah McFadden as limited participants at Monday's practice, which I don't think they had a practice on Monday, but they project whether or not the players would have practiced. And like I said, Dexter Lawrence and Micah McFadden also included as limited practice participants. Alex, what's your concern level here? Even if Dexter Lawrence suits up on Thursday night, we are talking about a player who is a little bit banged up, and Micah McFadden as well. These guys are banged up, and they don't have a lot of time to recover. You're going from Sunday to Thursday. Are you concerned that might impact them and maybe cause them to not play at the highest level possible in what is a very crucial game against the Cowboys? Or are you kind of the mind like, it's Dexter Lawrence, even if he's hurt, he's better than most of the players on the field anyway?
He probably is the best player on the football field, aside from Micah Parsons when he's hurt. But the truth of the matter is the Giants can't afford to lose him. I don't know. What was his injury again? I don't remember exactly what it was.
I think it was a foot injury.
A foot injury?
I
haven't seen anything about that in terms of if it's going to limit him that much. But when it comes to Dexter Lawrence, I kind of get the feeling that they just give him days off sometimes. Like they give him rest days because of how many snaps he plays. He's on the field all the freaking time. He's kind of one of those Iron Men.
Yeah, and it is a foot injury, just confirmed from the report from Jordan Rand of ESPN. But you're right about that. They do like to give him rest days, but on the practice report, when you give a player a rest day, you just list it as a rest. So they listed it as foot, which means that he is dealing with some sort of ailment. We don't know how extreme it is. But he was off the field for a few snaps in week 3. He missed a little
Just
bit
a
of playing
couple.
time. Obviously, still dominated the game anyway
Yeah.
and led all interior defenders with pressures in week 3. But yeah, he's dealing with some sort of foot injury. Micah McFadden dealing with a back injury. I do have to make this
Yeah.
point. I think that Micah McFadden is maybe the Giants' most underrated player. Like, he plays some really
We
good
said
football on a
this. He's a
week-to-week
good
basis,
player.
but he gets
He's
hurt
bad in
like every
coverage.
damn week.
Yeah, he
He
is.
just
That back injury he suffered in week 2 as well. Like that was an injury that was lingering. He re-aggravated it. But I'll tell you this, Anthony, and it kind of plays into what we said earlier this offseason before things kind of got started here. Micah McFadden was built in a lab to play in a Wink Martindale defense. And the Giants did a little bit more of the Wink Martindale style this past week. And Micah McFadden had a hell of a game because of it. Aggressive, blitzing, really, really on top of their assignments in that way. So I think that they went back to that kind of strategy, being more of an aggressive defense, and Mike McFadden shined. And like that's the type of defense he's built for. Downhill, north to south, getting involved in the trenches. And I was excited to see it because that's where he thrives. And this defense really thrives. Like we saw the Giants do a lot of really great things last year on defense, but one of them was that at times they were, even when they needed to be a little bit more conservative, they kept being aggressive. So I think that now they have a little bit of an interesting balance happening with Shane Bowen saying, you know what, let's be aggressive with what these guys love to do, but let's also incorporate this more of a conservative style, play a little bit more zone, do a little bit more, baiting, and you kind of play his style with a mix of this aggression. And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch as the season progresses here, how they blend the two together. I'm not really worried about Dexter Lawrence. Doesn't sound like anyone has been overly concerned about it. I know he was on the injury report, but as long as he's limited, not really concerned about it. If he's out, that's a different story for a couple days. But if he's limited, I'm not really worried until we get further indication. Could be like a Brian Burns situation and kind of flare it up, and then he's okay by game day. So hopefully things will progress nicely over the next couple days. They'll probably keep him off his feet, do some minor stuff. Dexter Lawrence isn't the type of guy that needs to be like practicing 100% every day. Like he does his job and he does the same thing every week. Dominate in the trenches, take on double teams, and obviously destroy opposing offensive linemen. So I think that's kind of where he just does the same thing every single week. Obviously he'll be there in the film rooms and obviously the strategy game planning. But I think he's one of those guys that can afford to take a couple days off and not skip a beat personally.
I agree with you. I think he's so good that he probably doesn't even need to practice. He's just going to go out there and dominate whoever's in front of him every single Thursday, Monday, Sunday, no matter when the Giants are playing. I think we feel confident in Dexter Lawrence to play at the highest level of really any player in the NFL. So I'm not concerned about that as much as I am. Maybe Micah McFadden being banged up could be a little bit of a cause for concern. And obviously injuries all across the cornerback room for the Giants, definitely bringing me a little bit of hesitation going into this game. But it's an interesting one. Like we said, it's a pivotal matchup, sink or swim here for the Giants. If they win this game, I think the narrative of the entire season changes. If they lose, well, probably gets a little bit more doomy and gloomy like it was following the week 1 loss. But it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Alex, one last thing that I'm just going to throw out there, weird takeaway that I have from the Giants schedule this season. They don't play the Cowboys on a Sunday. They play them twice on Thursday this year. Very
It's so
interesting.
weird.
Yeah, this Thursday night, and then they play them on Thanksgiving later in the schedule. So, interesting enough.
I like the 4:30 p.m. game, by the way, because it's like right before dinner and everything. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like watch that game and then you kind of transition into dinner and everything. It's like I don't like the 7 p.m. Thanksgiving games when they're like, well, especially because we're working for these games, so it kind of sucks. But like for the regular fan, like 7 p.m. games for the Giants, obviously awesome. But if you're working the games, it's not so fun because then you have to like kind of sit there and like enjoy Thanksgiving, but also be like locked into the game and like trying to post our clips and whatever. So we're doing the dirty work for you, my friends, and making sure we get all the highlights and stuff up on social media and whatnot, get some content out. But yeah, man, like listen, the Dallas Cowboys always give us fits. I think that this Giants team needs to start flipping that script, even if we win one of the 2 games. Like, it just has to be that we don't lose all of them all the time. Like, we're always losing primetime football games. And Daniel Jones' record and his stats in primetime are not pretty. So, like, that has to change. And I made it pretty evident, I think, in the last episodes, and I said on Twitter this morning, eventually teams are going to start to adjust to this Giants football kind of offense that they're running right now, and that it's a lot more dink-dunk, a lot of basic stuff, a lot of easy reads, easy throws. They're going to take those things away. They're going to try to, and they're going to force Daniel Jones to throw the ball deep. The next evolution in Daniel Jones' game this season has to be rediscovering his deep ball. If he can rediscover his deep ball, this offense is going to explode, right? It's gonna start clicking. But he's been horrible, not just bad, horrible when it comes to throwing the ball deep. So he's got to get that figured out. He's got to get his confidence back there. Got to get the ball in the money. And if he can get that ball back to where it needs to be, I think this offense is going to start to reach some new heights and hopefully explode onto the scene. But, we'll see what happens. A lot of football left this season. I think a lot of things are going to happen. And starting with a win against Dallas would certainly put us in a much better direction.
No doubt. The Giants just have to start beating this Dallas Cowboys team. It's been way too long. They lose to them almost every single year. It's very rare that we actually get a win against Dallas. Let's please change that on Thursday night. And hey, man, if I ever felt like the Giants were going to do it, it might be this season. Great defensive pass rush last week. Defensive line looks sick on paper, and it's only getting better week to week. And Malik Neighbors, I feel like he can do anything. So if anybody can beat the Dallas Cowboys in week 4, it's going to be Malik Neighbors, and it's going to be the New York Giants. So I actually do have a little bit of hope here. I was very doom and gloom and very pessimistic going into week 3, and especially going into week 2. But you know what? Coming out of week 3 with a win, I feel better, and I have a little bit more optimism. And I'm really hoping to see the Giants pull off this win on Thursday night. And I actually do believe that it's possible. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned to the channel. We're going to keep previewing the game, reacting to the game, film breakdowns on Sunday's game, all of that fun stuff right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
Perfect.